You're listening to the NVus Alien Podcast with your host, Heather Woodward, an award-winning psychic, supernatural author, and lover of all things true crime. On this show, we're going to deep dive into topics that don't usually see the light of day. The spooky, the weird, the macabre, the paranormal, and of course, aliens. Sit back, grab a cup of tea, and let's get on with the show.
You want answers, not motivational quotes pretending to be guidance. You want the truth that changes things. That's where I come in. I read energy like a detective. Your patterns, your blocks, the turning points you feel coming but can't name yet. I translate what the universe has already lined up for you. I'm Heather, psychic coach, witch. 25 years of helping people stop the self-sabotage and step into their power. If you're ready to move, text me 25224194447. Real guidance, real clarity. Zero games. That's me, 25224194447. Let's pull the cards and see what happens next. Now put your tinfoil hat on. Curiosity engaged. Let's get into the podcast.
We are going to be talking about childhood phenomenon. Basically, what psychic experiences we've had as children and why we think it happened. I am Heather Woodward. I am a psychic, a medium, a radio personality.
I am actually Rachel Woodward, obviously sisters of Sarah and Heather. I'm a fashion designer of wearable art, fashion, clothing, festival gear. I also do psychic profiling as well as I do tarot. I like to do research. My background's in psychology and somatic therapies, so I'm really into the healing arts as well as the mind and the brain. I have lots of curiosities in lots of different arenas, but it's all jumbled up into one. And I think for myself, a lot of my fashion comes from a lot of my personal experiences. You can take it from here, Sarah.
Is it my turn?
It's your turn.
I'm Sarah Woodward. I'm an author, a filmmaker. That's all I got, guys.
She's so succinct.
What?
You're so succinct.
I don't know what that means.
Like, Sarah took notes on her way with picking up Ofina, and that's pretty much all she wrote.
That's all I got, guys. I'm the youngest here, and they just pick on me.
We're talking about childhood phenomenon. We have had a lot of experiences for some reason in this family in particular, and our children have had experiences. And so I know the first thing people are going to ask is, why did we have so many experiences? Like, why do you think?
God, that you can answer that question in so many different ways. Why does anyone experience what they experience? I know that some people thought growing up, I know for myself anyways, we were always called witches. People thought that we were a pagan family. Other people believed it was our parents. I've heard so many theories of why we are the way that we are, because we were abused as children, because we're crazy. I don't know. What are some of the things that you guys have been told?
I've heard stories about our great-grandparents as being healers and all these weird witchery stories. So maybe it's from that. Or maybe we all are just crazy and schizophrenic.
People always ask me, because I had my first Sarah, your ice chewing is making so much noise.
Oh, sorry.
that glass. Tell me that jar does not remind you of our childhood growing up with Dad with that gallon bottle of water.
It's bigger than my head.
That's totally what it reminds me of. It reminds me of being trudged through the mountain so that he can get the perfect photograph on the top of the hill as the sun is coming down. And there was always that apple juice water bottle filled with water, and it had like green algae laying on the inside.
Yeah, it was about 5 or 6 of them lined up in the backseat of his car.
Yes, that was lined up. They never have caps on them. And then there was always, to boot, you'd have a bag of trail mix. 1 bag, 4 kids, and 1 huge adult. And he was like, okay, we're going to hoof up this huge, gigantic mountain. You can't eat anything, and you can carry my jugs of water. And let's go take some pictures, kids. That's, for me, was like such a traumatizing experience.
And you get 4 almonds each.
Don't even try to steal the pineapples.
That's what I flash on every time Sarah picks up that glass jug and drinks her smoothie out of it, or she drinks her water out of it. I'm just like, oh my God, she's been imprinted.
I'm just trying to stay hydrated. Give me a break.
I've done interviews for my book and stuff. They always ask me, in the book, you talk about experiences like when you were 4 and 5. And you talk about your house being haunted, and you talk about your mom not caring and your dad not caring, and it was just part of the experience. They always say, why? And I'm like, I don't know. We come from a very Baptist, very strong Christian family that is almost oppressive in a way.
Do you think they're oppressive and very religious because they've had those experiences and they don't understand what's going on?
I think
But
so.
So I was going to say, because growing up, I think that we were never taught that was weird. We were never taught, oh my God, it might be a ghost. It was, yeah, huh? That's nice. No one ever really batted an eye when you were just like, no, I just saw somebody in the kitchen that wasn't in the kitchen, or that door just shut and then opened itself, or something flew across the room. They were like, huh? And point being, like, none of the adults thought that was strange or weird. And I think that's a lot why you have memories of being like 4 or 5 with these experiences. And I'm sure it is weird for other people, but we weren't raised in a family where that was something to look further into. It was just the way it was.
Yeah, I think you're correct in that. And also, I feel like I know our dad has had experiences and he's talked about his experiences in his own house. Seeing that paranormal experiences or just phenomenon in general is normal. It's typical. I guess it was in our family.
Most people don't talk about that sort of thing, and they think you're crazy.
I think a lot of families don't have those experiences.
Because we talk about it like matter of fact. And it's
Yeah,
like,
I mean, they don't even question it. Who wants to talk about their experience?
should we go like around in a circle and share one at a time, like a campfire?
Sure. You go first, Sarah.
Oh, I need to. All right. The first one that I actually remember is when I was little, when we lived in Simi Valley in that little 1-bedroom house that grandma turned into a 4-bedroom.
Yeah, that
Yes.
was weird.
I don't know maybe it was our cat or the neighbor's cat, but someone had a cat and it died or ran away. That's like in kindergarten, first grade.
I had a cat, and then my cat had kittens, so we had 6 cats, Sarah.
But one of them died.
I was little. We had a lot of animals all over, and they were just taking over the house. It was because I kept bringing them home.
Okay, this cat was dead, gone, okay? And I
Totally.
remember waking up in my bed and like opening my eyes, and the cat was on my chest. And I wasn't scared or anything at first. And then it dawned on me that cat's dead. And I closed my eyes real fast and I reopened them and it was gone. So that was my very first childhood phenomenon that I remember.
See, but I remember you having an experience similar to that when we lived on Chrisman House, when I had that blue Siamese. He was that cream-colored Siamese with big blue eyes. You sat in what used to be Heather's room on the floor one night talking to the cat all night long because it was talking to you, like words, like the way we're talking now.
Because I was on drugs. I said, why are you bringing that up?
Very similar to the story you just told. You're like, dead, alive, it doesn't matter. They speak.
Yeah, that was my first experience, was that cat on my chest. And then it freaked me out because I was like, that thing is dead and buried. We buried it. Yeah.
But you saw it on you. Like,
it was on me real as day. And I was like, oh, it's the kitty cat waking me up. When I stared at it, we stared at each other. And then dawned on me, you're dead. And
You're not here.
I wanted to freak out, but I just closed my eyes real tight and then opened them and it was gone.
and you were fully awake when this happened.
I was fully awake. Yes.
That's an interesting phenomenon. What do you think it was?
What do I think it was?
Yeah.
Maybe I wasn't fully awake and I was sleeping. Maybe it was a ghost. I don't know. I really have no idea what it was. It was just weird. What do you guys think it was?
What do cats symbolize? Cats are supposed to be mediums, and they're supposed to be the realm between. I've heard all sorts of different things about what cats are symbolically.
I've heard that where they're half between this realm and their dead realm.
Yeah, they live in between both existence, like they can see both realms at the same time, but they're also supposed to be mediums.
It could have been that because it was like a day or two right after that cat died. It was very recent after the cat died.
I mean,
They're
'cause
also protectors of witches.
Ooh, maybe
yeah,
they were protecting me from all you guys,
Oh, yeah.
all the witches.
I don't think that was it. But cats throughout history have played huge parts. Even the Egyptians kept cats as royalty in the house or in the temples or whatnot. They're definitely very symbolic.
It's very interesting, though, that it took you a second to figure out that it wasn't there. Your brain had to catch up.
Yes, exactly.
Your
So
conscious
if-
mind basically had to catch up.
If your conscious mind hadn't caught up, do you think you would have had a conversation with that cat?
I probably would have because we were staring into each other's eyes. We had a moment. And yeah, and then within that moment, I just lost it because my brain went, oh, This isn't real.
It doesn't make any sense.
Yeah.
What about you, Rachel? What's your experience?
I've had a lot of different experiences with things being moved around the house, doors opening and shutting, seeing images of people that weren't there from a very early age. And I still now do. I see faces on top of faces. Most of the time when people are looking at me, part of the reason I have such amazing eye contact is because I'm not just looking at you. There's always another image on top of it. People say that I spend a lot of time in front of the mirror. And part of that is because I always see another image on top of my own image. Since I was really little, felt like there was somebody else looking out, watching me. It always felt like there was a second set of eyes. A lot of the time, the images that I see of the face, it's very masculine. Not like that necessarily that it's a man, but the eyes are so piercing and it has very androgynous bone structure. So it's very masculine. And I've always sensed that since I was a little girl.
I have a story that goes with that story. Remember when we lived on the Crispin house? I think there was like a strobe light going and there was blue lights and all this stuff.
Yeah.
I remember our cousin was talking.
Yeah, I was sitting with you when that happened.
Yeah,
and
we
it
were
was
both just staring at him.
What was weird about that experience is Sarah and I experienced the same hallucination together, where it scared the crap out of us. We didn't share what we both saw, but it was so bizarre that both of us got up from the coffee table and walked to the other room and went to bed. And in the morning went, oh my God, I totally had this hallucination. And that was why I left. And she was like, really? Did he do this? And then this? And it was like exactly the same. Blaine was talking and he morphed and Nathan was standing next to him and they were morphing into each other.
Not
and
even,
morphing,
and all
and
the
then morphing in. Yeah, it was like different people that they knew, that we knew throughout our childhood. They were literally, as they were talking, they were morphing and picking up these characteristics and turning into them. And then it would flash back. And it was like literally they would melt into one another in this stream that would go in and out. And then you'd see them and then they'd morph into someone else. And it was so real, but it was freaky.
He was the only one there, wasn't he? There was no one else there.
It was Nathan and Blaine, and they were sitting next to each other, and you and I were sitting on the opposite end.
Just staring with our jaws dropped.
Literally staring. I've never hallucinated on drugs. I've never hallucinated on anything. I'm much more of a person that goes inside my own head. So for me, it was really freaky because I couldn't believe what I was seeing. And it really looked like they were just melding. And I mean, down to the body frame, the mannerism.
Yeah, the little gestures.
And the gestures. And that's what scared me half to death because it wasn't just, oh, the face is changing. It was like everything. It was like they were one person. It was freaky.
Are you sure you guys didn't accidentally create a portal or something?
I don't know.
We have no clue.
I have no clue because I've never experienced anything like that before in my life, and I've never had anybody explain it to me. So I have no idea what it was or what caused it or why we were seeing it together. But it made me go to bed.
Sometimes when you have really psychic people together in the same room, even if you're doing some kind of hallucinogenic or something that kind of opens up your mind.
We were just drinking beer.
Oh, we were drinking beer. I don't smoke pot, and it was one of those nights that one of the boys made tea, and Blaine was rolling a joint. The only thing that we had in our system was THC, which I rarely do in the first place. But I've never hallucinated off of it. I was into hallucinogens as a kid, and I've never hallucinated off of hallucinogens. So for me, it was really freaky. It was like, okay, I just took a hit off a joint, and now I'm hallucinating. Something's wrong. The boys didn't seem to notice.
They didn't notice at all.
They probably didn't even figure it out. Sometimes, I've seen this before with a lot of psychic people together in a room. You link up. And what happens, especially if you're younger, that you have the whole psychokinesis thing happens where you're all projecting out energy. What you can do is open up spaces. That's what they do when you chant or when you create a circle. What you're doing is you're creating an energy spot that's high energy. If the both of you are relaxed, you're drinking a little bit, you got a little THC, and you both are just wandering, that projection of that energy can actually create like a portal just for a few minutes. You might have been seeing your past, present, and future together.
We sat there for a good 5-10 minutes.
I don't think we even said anything. We were just like, our jaws were open and we were just nodding. And they thought they were telling the greatest story ever because we're like,
Yeah, but it's one of those things where until one of you breaks your concentration, the energy is going to stay there.
Okay.
As soon as one of you breaks the concentration, then all of a sudden it goes away because nobody's feeding it.
Sarah and I did both get up and leave the room and went to bed and was like, okay, I'm tired. Yeah, let's not talk about that. And it wasn't until morning then when we were conversating and it was just like, no, you didn't. Did you really see that? Because I thought that's why I left. And she's like, why do you think I followed suit? I was out of there. I didn't want to stay alone and watch that. It's freaky. It was one of those moments where you're like, oh, it's totally my bedtime. I'm out. Like, I don't want to talk about. You hide under your blankets. Seriously. Speaking of hiding under blankets, I told Heather about this the other night. As far back as I can remember, and I have no recollection of any kind of trauma or anything that would have caused it. But when I was really little, and this is part of the reason why I slept with Sarah, my little sister, till I was 17. I was pregnant when I finally slept in my own bed, which is weird in the first place. I was deathly afraid of the dark. As long as I can remember back.
Yeah, you used to make me sleep with the lights on. It would drive me crazy.
But what I was so scared of is with the lights off, someone was going to snatch me. I really felt like I was going to get taken. And when I was little, I used to take all of the blankets that I could find in my room or anyone's room that I could steal, and I would stack them on top of each other and create a pile that would look just like a mess. And I'd create a little wormhole and I would crawl underneath it and take the bottom blanket and tuck them underneath my feet and all around myself and around my body. And I would create a little wormhole next to my head where air can come in. And I would lay there petrified until I would pass out if I had to sleep by myself. And I was like that from the ages of 3 and 4 all the way up until my teenage years. I just moved into Sarah's room, essentially. I was just like, scoot over. I'd rather tolerate your snoring than the alternative, which is to go sleep in my room at 15 and be scared to death that whatever it was coming to get me. And for me, I don't know where that fear came from. But even as a little girl, I wasn't convinced that I was going to get killed. Nothing like that. It was I was going to be taken. And it happens in the dark and I was going to be taken away. And I don't know what happens when they take you away. I just knew that was not going to happen. They weren't going to find me. If they came into that room, all they'd find is a mess full of blankets that there's no way someone's underneath it. And I was like that. And it wasn't until I got pregnant at 17 that I slept by myself. And even then, I went from sleeping with Sarah to my husband. And it wasn't until my 30s where I felt safe enough to sleep in the dark by myself in my own room. Donovan slept with me till he was 10. I haven't actually slept by myself until I was way older in life. And that was a lot of it. Donovan did it in his own time, but he also had the same fear as a little boy. He was afraid to be in the dark by himself. And so I just basically was like, if you feel more safe sleeping in my room, you're more than welcome. I never told him I'm scared too. But I don't blame you, kid. You know what I mean? I don't blame you. It's scary in the dark.
It's interesting because you're talking about this and my son Tyler doesn't know any of these stories and he doesn't know about some of the fears that we all have. And he doesn't like going to sleep with the lights off. He has to have a nightlight. And he's afraid of large bodies of water.
Same here.
That's what I'm saying.
The two things that'll ever stop me dead in my tracks where I will not move, like most fears, you can move past it. If you turn off the lights now and I'm scared, I'll run to find a light switch, but I'm willing to push past it. Snakes in water, though, I just freeze. I will just stare at it. I have no response. Like I literally go into trauma where it's like I'm catatonic. I can't move.
No idea where he gets that fear from because he's never had an experience with water. I don't know if it's genetic.
No, I was thinking maybe it's some weird switch in the DNA that gets turned off and on, passing through generations.
Now, they do look at what was in psychology, even it's being pushed into science and medicine, where they're looking at what was going on with the mother during pregnancy. And if you look at that, and then you look at the fact I have trichotillomania, I was born with high anxiety and I've been ripping out my hair since I was breastfeeding. And then you look at what was mom's circumstances when she was pregnant, high stress, lots of violence, lots of arguing, lots of fighting. She was really stressed out completely. She had massive anxiety when she was pregnant with me. So it's not really that shocking that I ripped my hair out or I was born with an anxiety disorder. If you look at it from that perspective, it's not that strange. But I don't know if anything if she ever had any traumatic experiences in the dark or in water.
I never had any kind of experience with water. I love water. I swim all the time. I don't have any fear of the dark. It doesn't even affect me at all. I walk around the dark all the time. In fact, I forget sometimes to turn on the lights in the house because I'm so used to walking around in the dark. Sarah,
Scared of the dark outside.
are you?
Yeah. Inside I'm fine. I love the water. It's very peaceful to me. Like when I'm in the water, it's quiet to me. It's peaceful and quiet. That's where I go to find, it's like meditation, swimming underwater.
Me too. Yeah.
However, I am scared of deep water. I'm terrified of deep water, but I do it anyway because I know it's an irrational fear. And yeah, like deep water, ocean water, even deep water in the pool, I have this weird instinct
Really?
to run, but I know I'm not in danger. So just deal with it.
I spent a lot of time in the bathtub, and I remember as a little girl, there were numerous times where I was scared to even be in the bathtub by myself, and I certainly didn't want the bathroom door shut, and I certainly didn't want the light shut, and I liked being in the bath. That was where I played with my dolls. That was where I spent a lot of my time as a little girl hanging out in the tubs. But there were numerous times where it was just like, okay, I need that door open. I need all the lights on. I need the light outside the bathroom on so I can see everything, so I can create this safe environment to play in the water.
I'm the complete opposite. I take showers in the dark.
Gee, I wish I could do that. I'm petrified of being in the shower in the dark.
What's
I
your
tell you-
paranormal experience, Heather?
I've had so many. Like
Your youngest one you can remember.
the one that I remember the most, the one that I talk about in my book, because it's the one that's the most profound to me, that just, I didn't even realize it was weird until I was 2021. I was like, wait a minute, that doesn't make any sense. It took me that long to figure out that it didn't make sense.
That is so typical of our family. Wait a second, that's not normal.
I remember at 5 years old when we were in this house on Santa Rosa Street.
That place is haunted.
I have a
Um,
story for that one too, but go ahead.
But we had a back room that was like our playroom / sleep room. I don't know what it was. And it was always messy because there was 4 of us.
I remember that room.
I was back there and playing by myself one time. And I remember talking to something, and it was very large. And it had wings, and it had eyeballs on its wings. And it was glowing. I think it was an angel. And I talked to it. It was a him. And it was showing himself to me because I used to talk to him as a kid, like little. I used to talk to him like he was like a spirit guide or something. And then he showed himself, and I was like, whoa, you're big and creepy looking. And he was white. I just remember white and wings and feathers, and he had eyeballs on his wings, and they were all blinking at different times. And it tripped me out. And I was like, okay, you don't have to show yourself so much to me anymore. It didn't scare me as much as I just didn't like seeing the eyeballs.
Yeah, that would freak me out.
That's my first experience. I never felt like it was there to harm me. I think it was there to guide me. I really felt like I was protected by it. And I think, especially with our childhood, as weird as it was and as strange it was with our parents and stuff, because they just weren't getting along, I almost felt like it was there to protect me, to make sure that nothing happened to me. And that ties into another story. When I was 5 years old, I almost fell off the Grand Canyon.
I've heard Mom tell that story before. She said, you fell off the Grand Canyon. You didn't almost fall. You fell off and something grabbed you and pushed you back. That's
Yeah,
the way she tells the story.
It freaked her out.
I remember parts of it. I don't remember the whole thing. All I remember is that it was in the 70s, because I was born in 74, and it was before they had a railing around it, and you can actually look over the edge. And I remember I wasn't sleepwalking, but I was following something. And I remember actually tipping over and looking over the edge. For years, I had dreams about standing over a cliff and looking over the edge, but I was halfway over it already. So I'm looking at it down. I'm going, how am I doing this? Because I'm not flying. I don't fly in my dreams. Until Mom told me that story, I didn't realize that I had been pulled back.
Yes. But I honestly think that all of us kids were something or someone was definitely watching over us, because there were a lot of things that went on in our childhood and a lot of lack of supervision. And that's nobody's fault, but that's the way it was. There was a lot of us, and there was a lot of cousins. And there was a lot of dysfunction going on with adults where they were trying to figure out their own stuff, where we weren't being supervised and we were running wild in the streets, in the community, in the harbor, all over the place, where there was a lot of situations that us kids got ourselves in and for some reason just brushed death or just brushed over danger. And it was like no big deal. And if that today had happened with any of our kids, I don't think they would have survived. I always felt like there was definitely something, I don't know, protecting us in a lot of ways because there were really weird things that happened to us.
This is true. I remember having a choice. I don't know how to explain that better, but I remember when I had a miscarriage once and I almost died. I remember somebody or something asking me, do you want to do this or not? And I actually had a choice of whether or not I wanted to die. And I was like, oh, hell no, I'm not done yet. And they're like, okay, let's do this. And it's weird because when I walked in the door at the hospital, I've never seen an emergency room people run so quickly in all my life. And I was like, oh, something's wrong. And I remember right before I passed out, again, something asked me, do you want to get through this or not? And I was like, oh yeah, I'm not done. And the doctors even said there's no way you should have been able to live through that. You lost so much blood and so quickly. We don't even know how you're talking right now. I was like, I don't know either, but I'm hungry and I want a hamburger.
That's like the experiences that everyone throughout our family has had, not just our generation, like our parents' generations. And it's interesting that you were talking about you fell off the cliff. Dad said he was taking pictures and he saw a white light and he stepped right into it and he landed 30 feet down off a cliff off of Greece. And he doesn't remember any of it. Lisa tells the story and she's like, no, he was dead. There was blood coming out of his nose and his mouth. He was definitely dead when I looked down on that cliff. And what he doesn't remember is he actually got up and it took 7 people to restrain him to get him to the hospital because he has been trained in CIT and being restrained by people and whatnot. They couldn't pin him at all. It took so many people to pin him and get him to the hospital. And when he woke up, he had no recollection of anything. He remembers seeing a light and then he doesn't remember anything. The paramedics, it took them forever to get him to the hospital.
I don't think they made it to the hospital. He refused treatment.
Did he refuse treatment?
Yeah, he got unrestrained and Lisa was pissed off at him because he refused
She was
treatment,
so
and she was
scared.
scared that he was just going to drop dead on that trip. Yeah, he didn't
She
get
thought
any
he would-
treatment whatsoever. Even when they got home from Greece, he still refused treatment.
She must have been so mad because I know that, like, you hear Dad talk about it and he's just taking pictures. And you hear Lisa and she's, oh, I looked down and my husband was like dead 30 feet down. There was something weird about what happened. And the fact that he got up and was like still functioning was weird.
So what do you think it is then?
I don't know. That's like saying, what is the RH negative factor? I don't know what it is, but it's definitely very prevalent in everyone in our family. And there's a lot of weird phenomenons that go on in our family. Grandma can't wear watches. I think you were the one that told me that. She can't wear watches because they just spin out of control. They can't even set time. Something to do with the magnetic fields in her body. Everyone in this family seems to have this ability to manifest or create. If you talk to any of our children, they can tell you about Donovan, for instance. If I decide that I need to know something that you're not going to tell me or my dad's not going to tell me, I think about it really hard and I go to sleep and I wake up and I know exactly what your answer is or what it was that you're not going to tell me. He just thinks about it and then dreams about it. I don't know what goes on while he's sleeping or where he goes, but he pulls information. If he wants something bad enough, he thinks about having it and he literally can manifest it and create it. And it's scary, the things that he acquires because of it. He's had instances where he was really little and he got really mad at me and lamps went flying across the room and lights were broken and it scared him to death. But I know that all of our children have had these kind of experiences at a very young age, and it's just always been something that we've been taught that's normal. But it's not normal. If you talk to other people's families, not everybody has that.
I think a lot of it is that we're tuned in with energy, and everyone's tuned in with energy, right? When they're little kids, and then it gets broken away because people tell them they're crazy or whatnot. But in our family, we've never been told that we are crazy. No one ever said, oh, that can't happen. It's always, yeah, I can see that. Everyone believes our crazy stories. And I think that's why I think we're tapped into energy or the universe or God or whatever a little more than most people because of that, because we were never told we were crazy or weird or that we're imagining things. And I know a lot of people in our family are alcoholics or they self-medicate because they can't stand it. Like you said, our children, Elfina, from when she was really little, she would be in the corner playing and talking to people. And I say, who are you talking to? Do you have imaginary friends? And she used to tell me, no, they're not imaginary. This is like little 3-year-old. They're not imaginary, Mom. They're invisible. They're real. You just can't see them. And just like our parents was, oh, okay. Tell them I said hi. I didn't break her from that.
Moving on. What do you want for dinner?
But that's how our family, I could go tell our parents I saw ghosts and they're like, oh, okay. They wouldn't even think twice about, are you crazy or weird or what?
I heard voices when I was little. I used to totally hear voices. I don't anymore. Now I more so pick up on people's thoughts, and I can pick up on people's thought patterns really easily if you're in the room with me. And if I engage in a conversation, like when you start talking to somebody and then you really engage and you start connecting on that level, I can start pulling thoughts out of your own head, and I can start pulling up conversations that you've had with other people, and I can regurgitate it and I don't know where it's coming from. But when I was little, I used to hear it as a second voice, either in my head or outside my head. I used to sit outside of Mom's mom. I used to sit outside of her house in Simi Valley, and I could hear clearly a woman screaming and yelling and saying nasty things. But the thing is that I used to go inside Grandma's house, and she would either be asleep or sitting in front of CNN or a TV show or a news station, completely dead silent. But I would hear it as an actual external voice, either in my head or outside my head. And it was a distinct woman, really angry, just screaming and yelling. And I never thought it was that weird, but I never really shared it with anyone because you're not supposed to hear voices. But it never dawned on me that what it was or what it could be, or that I should be telling my parents that, hey, there's some crazy lady outside of Grandma's house screaming that I can't see. Okay. That never occurred to me, but I was never taught to say stuff like that either.
It could just be projection. Grandma is a great projector because she's
what I was
angry
thinking too. It could Grandma, I think that's what it is.
See, and like I said, as I get older, I do pick up on thoughts. And I know that I pick up on thoughts. I have conversations with people that I do it. I can do it while I'm sleeping. If I sleep next to you for a long period of time, I will actually dream and talk to you and ask you questions about things that I can't talk to you in my waking state. And I will pull information. I've done that many times, and I've gotten a lot of trouble because it's something subconsciously that I do. And I've done it with so many lovers that I've gotten into arguments about things they never actually said that they said, and they actually do feel.
Yeah, I know when Tyler used to play around the neighborhood a lot in our cul-de-sac where we used to live, when we lived upstairs in a 2-bedroom apartment. He would never tell me where he was. And I used to talk to him through telepathy, and then he would come upstairs and go, "What do you want?" He was so annoyed that I was in his head. That's how I kept tabs with him. And I know that sounds really strange to people, but it was the only way that I felt like I could connect with him and make sure he was safe. And I think we do that just naturally if we let ourselves. I think we integrate. I was just reading an article about how people don't think in me, they think in we. We naturally connect to other people because we are empathic by nature. And so
that makes sense.
Yeah. So I can see how we do it with family members and kids and people and anybody we're around a lot.
I'd say in my early 20s, it was really hard for me because you become so enmeshed with their energy and your energy. Because you all do have an energy field that comes out as far as your arms go out. And so you figure people are meshing in it constantly anyways. But then when you get intertwined in people's lives and you really connect on that level, it does intermesh. And in my early 20s, I couldn't decipher between my own emotions, my own thoughts, and other people's that I was dealing with on a constant day-to-day level. It was like I couldn't separate whose was what.
I had that problem too when I was younger. I thought I was completely nuts because of these strange emotions. And as I got older, I realized it was the people around me. Like I would sit in a restaurant, and I could feel everyone's emotions. And like I said, when I got older, I learned how to shut it off and just ignore it all.
You learn how to protect yourself, and you learn how to filter it. And you also learn, you start to learn about what your emotions are and what it is that you truly feel and what are your belief systems and your own truths. And once you really distinguish that, then all of a sudden when these things come filtering in, you're just like, what is that? And I don't even care
Get
that
away.
way.
Yeah.
Like, do I really have to experience this for you? Because it sucks. But sometimes with lovers, it can get a little complicated because it does naturally intermesh itself. But I do remember in my 20s, I felt crazy. I felt insane because half the time I didn't know if I was reacting or responding to what it was I believed or what it was I felt or what it was somebody else felt. And I just felt like all I did in my 20s was react and respond to everything.
Yeah.
Every emotion was an experience, regardless of if it was mine or not. And I just felt nuts all the time. And people told me I was crazy, which didn't help.
Of course. I don't understand. See, that's the one thing. And I know that people watching this, or when they do watch it, they're going to go, these are a weird bunch of people. And, and that's okay. I think that's okay. But it's just such a strange world because when you realize, and again, it took me till I was like 19 or 20 to figure out that this is not what happens in other people's houses. When you realize you're different, all of a sudden it changes everything. I don't know. I still have a hard time. Sometimes I'm afraid to talk to people because I always end up telling the story the way I heard it, not the way that they said it. And I just add details that they didn't say. And they go, I never said that. And I said, yes, you did. I heard it. And they're like, I was thinking it. I didn't say it. And I was like, well, it doesn't matter. I listen with my ears and my intuition, and I listen with my energy. Because I read people all day. I don't listen to what people say anymore. I don't, because half of what's happening is through their body language and through what they're trying to say. And I was reading another article about how communication is 90% body language and energy and 10% of actually what comes out of your mouth. And when you're reading people, because I do tarot readings all day, when you're actually reading people, you don't even look at what they're saying. You read what their heart says and what their head says. And
Very true.
But it's a little scary when you're trying to be in the world. And if I have to, like, even the other day, I was at the mall and we were talking to somebody at a kiosk, and she asked, what do you do for a living? And I said, I do psychic tarot readings. And she said, are you reading me now? And I'm like, absolutely not. I don't even, but people are afraid of it in a way. So you just,
because they feel like you're sizing them up 24/7, and you're like,
Yeah.
I do turn it off, and you're not that important to me that I want to read everything about you right now while I'm shopping. I am allowed to turn that off. It is my skill, and I've learned to hone it, and I do turn it off and on as I see fit. It's also one of those tool sets where it's just, if it's not needed in the moment, you're not going to use it.
Yeah, and that's the other thing too. It's a different way of navigating the world. The other thing that I noticed is I have a hard time with spatial reality. I bump into walls so much.
She actually does. Heather is notorious for taking that extra step down a step that doesn't exist.
Yeah.
Or walking through a doorway that's not there. Heather is notorious for doing stuff like that. And she's got bruises all over her body because you're like, you're really short. It should be a lot easier for you.
No.
Everything's directly at your eyesight. And for some reason, it's not.
No, and that's the thing. With my glasses on, I have better than 20/20 vision. So there's no reason for it. But you know what? I have a hard time with what is here and what is not here. When I go into crowds, I see people that aren't there. I don't like concerts and stuff like that because I never know who I'm really talking to and who is standing next to me, if they're real or not, because the perception changes so much. Strange. And I've seen it. I've seen joggers that aren't there. And I'm like, where the hell did they come from? And I can't figure it out. And they disappear just as quickly, and the clothes don't match up because they're like 70s clothes and they're wearing those crappy little jogger pants. And you're like, dude, this doesn't make any sense. I read a lot of articles and a lot of things about how your experiences predict your future. So if we were told that those kinds of experiences are fine, then you're going to have more of them because your brain says it's fine. Just keep having them.
I can see that because you never shut it off because you were never
Right.
told that it was wrong.
And so you tend to see everything in 4D. That's how I describe it, because it's not 3D, it's 4D. You're seeing other layers of things. And I don't know. What are your experiences with that? Our childhood experiences do predict our adult experiences. I don't have a problem with Tyler saying, I feel this, or I'll see you in the ether. He's an astral traveler. I know he is. And I've seen him come and go. And I'm like, what are you doing? And going and hanging out in the astral world. I'm like, okay, whatever. when he was little, he used to do the same thing that Ofino did. He'd be like, what are those ghost people doing? What do you mean what those ghost people are doing? I don't know. You're seeing them, not me. You're like, you tell me what the ghost people are doing.
See, Donovan never had any of that kind of stuff. He just, I don't know. Donovan's always been really empathic, and I don't think maybe he has seen things that aren't there. I don't know. He's never expressed it. I do know that he's very empathic towards other people. We can't travel anywhere, regardless of how we travel. And he's been this way since he was like 2 or 3, without him puking up stomach bile. He can't separate everyone's energy from his own. And so he's never liked crowds of people. He doesn't like being in a concert. He doesn't like being at the zoo. He doesn't like being at an amusement park. And mostly because he takes in he's almost like an energy vampire. He sucks it all in and then doesn't know what to do with the information. And he gets physically ill, and he will puke up all of this stomach bile. And it just looks like he's deathly ill for about 5 minutes. And he literally will snap out of it as soon as he does it. He's just like, okay, I'm ready to go. Let's do it. He did that when I took him to Burning Man a couple of years ago, and he puked for a good 10 minutes in the parking lot once we arrived. And then after that, he was fine. He was like, okay, I got it out. I'm done. But he'll even sometimes, just to get rid of the feelings that come with it, he'll make himself puke because he doesn't like sitting there in this nauseated pain for amounts of time. But it's every time we travel or anytime we're in large bodies of people. He can't handle it. He doesn't know how to separate it. As a kid, I used to give him agrimony flower in the tinctures in the water. Now, it's the only thing I've ever been able to give him where he feels more solid in himself and more grounded in his body, where he doesn't have that issue. But that's something he's had since he was little. I only have 2 memories of seeing people that aren't there. And I think I've told Heather them before, and both of them had to do with my hands. And one of them really scared me because he actually grabbed my hand and wouldn't let go of it. And it was really freaking me out. And I had to literally rip my hand
Where was
away
that
from it.
at?
That was at Northern Renaissance Fair, and it was in the evening, and no one saw him. No one knows who he exists. He wasn't from the party that we were at. He was some person that only apparently I saw, and I was with a group of people, and I had a whole entire conversation with him, and he touched my right hand and wouldn't let go of it. And I had to literally pull it away, and he was direct eye contact. And I can't remember his name. He had some really bizarre name, and it really just freaked me out. But he had this whole backstory of who he was, and he came from this booth and this, that, and the other. And I went to that booth and asked them, and they were like, we don't know anybody by that name. We don't even know what you're talking about. And the people that were with me were just like, Rachel, you were with us the whole entire time. The only time you weren't is when you turned the corner down one street, but we were literally seconds behind you. You were only alone for a few, maybe 2-3 minutes tops. There was nobody there. You weren't talking to anyone. I don't know who it was. I have no idea, but I've always had weird things with my hands. People always want to touch my hands, or they're freaked out by my hands. I had a palm reader. I went to a wedding with someone, and my date asked her to read my palm, and she grabbed my palm. This was right after the car accident, by the way. I had only been walking maybe 3 or 4 months, so I didn't do it very well. And she read my palm, and she wouldn't tell me what she saw. She looked at it and had this horrible expression on her face, and she closed my palm back up and handed it back to me. And she went, "You're a very interesting person." And then she walked away, and she looked terrified of me. And she wouldn't tell me what she saw, didn't want anything to do with me, didn't want me near her. She sat clear on the opposite side of the wedding as I was. And then in the morning, she ended up being at the hotel that we were staying at, which was really funny because we walked down to the car, and I had told Mom and everyone that was with us what had happened. Because I was just like, am I going to die or something? Did she see something horrible? It's like my life path all messed up. What was that? And we went to the car to get in, and we look over, and the car next to us was her. And she looked horrified that she was standing that close to me. And she turned around and booked it right back to her hotel room, wanted nothing to do with me. Like I was like death walking upon her. And I've never had my palm read ever again because it really freaked me out. I was just like, I don't know what she saw, but like, it can't be good. Like, why would you do that to somebody? Because now I have all these images in my head that like, maybe one of the things I remember thinking was maybe I really did die in the car crash, and I'm just a manifestation of my own imagination. Like maybe I'm not really here. Maybe I'm dead and I just don't know it. And she saw it.
Did you guys ever in the Santa Rosa house? I must have been really little.
That house was haunted. That house
Did you
was
guys ever
haunted,
see a
for sure.
bearded man?
I don't think so. I know I had a fort underneath the house. I used to hang out underneath the house. I used to go in the crawl space. If you go to the backyard, there was a crawl space where you can go underneath the house in the dark. That is the only space that I ever really liked being in, pitch black in the dark, was in that crawl space under the house. I had stuffed animals and dolls and all sorts of toys under there. If Dad was looking for us, he could never find you if you were underneath the house, because who goes into a crawl space under the house in the dirt? I spent so much time when we lived in that house in that crawl space. And
Oh.
it's the only place I ever liked being in the dark.
The only memory I have of that place is there's all these wet footsteps. Yeah, there's wet footsteps. And I was following them, and it led into the bathroom, and there's this bearded guy in the bathroom. And I took off running. I ran out the front door, and I ran into Dad. And Dad was like, "What the heck's wrong? What's going on?" He took me in the bathtub, and no one was there. There's no more footsteps. There's no one.
The bearded man's face
Mm.
used to end up in the glass in the one of the doors, and you could see it come and go. And it was weird.
Dad talked about that, actually. I
He
actually
scared
heard
me, though.
I've
He was
actually- I
terrifying.
have heard Dad talk about him. Because Dad talks about stuff like that from that house as well. He said that house was completely haunted. He had experiences with that, but the reflection in the door, that was a big thing that Dad used to tell us. I don't know. I never saw him.
Yeah.
Did you have experiences in that house, Heather?
Yeah, all the time. There was a person that lived in the kitchen, and I used to sit at the end of the kitchen between the living room and the kitchen. It wasn't a hallway, but it was like a walkway. And I used to, when I couldn't sleep at night, I used to go sit right there and listen to the footsteps walk back and forth.
Yeah, that's a little weird for me.
And I always wanted to know who it was. I couldn't figure out why were they pacing back and forth in the house. But
Yeah, I
yeah, it
don't know.
intrigued me.
Dad's houses, I think, are much more haunted than Lisa's. I remember Dad's house on Los Cabos in Ventura, and there was something weird about his hallway. I never wanted to be in that hallway by myself. Even as a teenager, that hallway, I used to run down the hall to my room and then run out to be in the living room.
I had someone tap on my shoulder. I was sleeping. I knew someone was in my room, and I turned my back to it to get hiding, and it like tapped me hard, like boom. And I just said, "You need to go away. I don't know what the hell you are. Just get out of here." And
Yeah.
it
Oh,
left.
thank you.
And I turned
Wait.
around and nothing was there. My door was shut. My door didn't open or anything. It was just weird.
We actually have a question. Somebody asked, someone told me that there is something called a father's curse, depression or negativity passed down through the generations. Do you think that's possible in your family?
Wait, explain what that is. The father's curse, where it's passed down from generations, but it has to do with the
Father to
Yeah.
son.
Depression or negativity passed down through generations.
Most of the men in our family are very negative and very depressed.
I would not be
Yeah.
surprised.
What's interesting about that is, tell me you guys haven't heard about the family curse on the Proporas, that supposedly the reason why all of the women in our family can't seem to find a mate and stay with a mate, all of the women are all single. And they have been from generation to generation. And I was told, and I bet you money all of you guys have been told, that there's a family curse on the family having to do with the women, where something was done improperly or something in the alignment of whatever was our family.
That was what our aunt's wedding was all about, breaking that curse, remember? It was not wedding, but funeral.
The breaking
and-
curse that I didn't
curse. The
Yeah.
whole TP experience was about breaking that curse, which didn't help anybody.
But it made us feel better.
Everyone's still single and nobody's married. No, I don't think it was the curse that everyone thinks it is. And I don't know. I don't know if I believe necessarily that there is a curse. I do think from depression and from sadness, I do think that there's been a lot of trauma passed down from generation to generation in our family on both sides of the family. Mom's family on both sides came over to America during the war. So there was a lot of trauma. A lot of our family members were killed. Dad's side of the family, I don't know completely his family history, but I can tell you there's a lot of abuse, a lot of sexual abuse, a lot of violence, a lot of negativity, and it all generates around the men. The men are
Yes.
very damaged souls, and they almost feel tortured in a sense, and it's definitely been passed down from generation. And that was one of the biggest influences when I was 17 and I gave Donovan his father's last name. The whole reason behind that was I was terrified of Donovan being damned with the Woodward name because of the implications that it came with. because these men weren't balanced. They were so just off tilt. And I know that mom's family will say it's the men's fault, but there's a lot more with children that go on between the mother and child. And here's my thing is have you ever heard of a serial killer bitching about his father that was overbearing, or his father that it's usually the connection with the mother that really destroys the psyche, because there's a different kind of a connection that the mother has with the child than the father. Anywhere in nature, you're going to find that. There's a lot more to it than that. How do men become so damaged like that? But I think on both sides of the family, male or female, there is a lot of dysfunction and abuse and sadness that has been passed down. And I think it's caused some mental illness in the family and on some people to actually go physically crazy. Never heard of the father's curse. I actually want to Google that now.
I have a question for you guys real quick.
Yeah.
Sure. Alien abduction. I don't know if Rachel knows much about this, but Heather, I know you do. Is there a correlation between alien abduction and cancer?
Yes.
Yes.
No, so we talked to Kathleen Martin about this.
Okay.
Rachel?
So we have talked largely about this. And actually, one of the things which is interesting about you is that after. Okay.
Because you guys made me remember. Remember I was telling you guys how at the Christmas house, I would wake up paralyzed and couldn't do anything.
Right.
And I would scream and nothing would come out. And I was like paralyzed.
A lot of abductees afterwards usually get cancer, ovarian cancer, uterine cancer, and usually have a hysterectomy afterwards. They actually lose their female parts. That is actually a very common thread between
That is
abductees.
so weird. Also, where we used to live in Simi Valley is a hotbed for a UFO activity, just so you know.
This didn't happen in Simi Valley, it happened in Ventura.
Also, people will get abducted within the family lines, and I know some things about dad and UFOs.
And Heather and I have talked about that. We were actually really curious. You actually came up because we were just like, that's interesting. Did Sarah deny her femininity? Or all these theories about aliens trying to actually mutate the DNA with the people because they're trying to crossbreed species, and people end up miscarrying or end up getting cancer or end up losing their feminine organs.
Did I ever tell you guys my first surgery? Remember the one you took me to the ER for? The emergency ovary removal? That doctor the surgeon was really weird towards me. And he was like checked up on me all the time. And this really weird doctor behavior, like he cared and had compassion. And he came up to me and he said, "Do you remember what you told me in the operating room?" I was like, "What are you talking about? Should I have been knocked out?" So, "You don't remember anything you told me?" And then I said, "No, I don't know what you're talking about." I said, "Okay, good." And he left. But he checked up on me. He would make house calls to me and be like, "I just want to make sure you're okay."
Did you ever find out what you said to him?
No.
He wouldn't tell you.
He wouldn't tell me. He even made a house call. He wanted to make sure I had a religious connection with something. He made me make an appointment because he wanted to talk to me about religion. It was really weird.
I'm curious to know what it was that you said.
Yeah.
But the thing that they pulled out of you had like hair and teeth. Your tumor decided it was going to grow into some kind of fetus or something. It was creepy.
It was basically my body was trying to reproduce with itself. That's what was happening.
Sarah's, I'm a lesbian. I don't need men. I can do it on my own.
I don't know. That sounds a lot like some of the stuff I read in this book.
Shut up. I don't want to know anymore.
The reason I remember that is when I went to go visit you.
I wake up with a new uterus.
Yeah, Lisa was talking about that when that happened. And she was like, "Isn't that creepy? Sarah's body's like trying to reproduce." And she said the tumor had hair and teeth. It was like trying to grow ahead.
It's happened 3 times too. Yeah. Remember the first time I just had the sister. The second time I had the massive 4 of them that got removed.
I remember that one. I was at that one.
And then I had this 3rd surgery and it was growing on my other ovary that was left over. Yeah.
She was just multiplying like water. You don't feed her water after midnight. Just straight up, don't get her wet. They just start boiling out like little gremlins. It was creepy.
God. What if I was abducted by aliens? What if I have a microchip in my butt?
I don't put it in your butt.
In my butt. You've been watching way too much South Park.
My friend swears that I was abducted. He swears I was there in the spaceship with him. I have no recollection of it whatsoever.
I don't have any memories like that. I wonder if they just weren't able to find me. I apparently had better hiding places than you guys. I was under the radar.
Try not to get abducted till next week, Sarah.
I'm not fertile anymore. They don't want me.
That's not true.
But if I wake up with a new uterus, then we know something real. Oh my God, I have a cervix. What happened?
All right. On that note, we will see you next week. Goodbye.
Thank you for listening to the NVus Alien Podcast. For show notes, go to the website www.nvusalien.com. All of the reference materials and mentions in this episode are linked there. If you want more witchy, paranormal, and fringe content, please subscribe to my Substack. Just search Heather Ashera, that's Heather Ashera, or check the link in the show notes. And as always, see you on the flip side.